In this video, you will be making a bowl that can be used for eating or foraging. You will also learn how you might deepen your connection with nature through inspirations from designers and artists, but primarily from knowledges learned from indigenous communities. Before you start, it will help to know a few knife grips to make sure you work safely and effectively. One good place to learn is from master woodworker Hugo Sundqvist in the Morokniv Swedish knife grip sessions on YouTube. Before making your bowl by hand, make sure you have the correct tools, as this will make everything a lot easier. These tools are a carving axe, a gouge, preferably a curved one, a crook or spoon knife, and a carving knife. The first step in making a bowl is to split the log using your carving axe. Here you will begin to see what difference it makes in having hard or soft wood. Make sure you work with the grain. This will make it possible for the log to split rather than splinter off in small sections. Try and use wood that would have otherwise have been wasted or burned, or wood from other sustainable sources. This is what furniture designer Sebastian Cox does. He says that wood is pretty much solid carbon, so thinking of uses to stop it from burning or letting it rot and making it useful keeps the carbon stored and stops it from entering the atmosphere. Fresh wood will be a lot easier to split, and also the type of tree it came from will be a huge factor. Hardwoods such as oak, ash, walnut, maple or beech will make a stronger bowl, but will be much more difficult to work with, whereas a softwood like pine, redwood, larch, fir and cedar will be much easier to work with, but won't be as strong. The next step is to neaten the edges of the wood. This will make it easier to map out the bowl you would like to make. There are two ways of using your axe. One is taking thin slivers of wood off at a time or planing. Another is using stop cuts lower down at an angle to break up and weaken the fibres. Then hit above the stop cuts you have made with a more acute angle. Now you have a straight edge to work from. Draw out the size and shape of your bowl. Next, use your gouge to start carving the inside of your bowl. With curved blades like a gouge or a spoon knife, go against the grain. This will make it so the blade doesn't get caught between the fibres. While making your bowl, if you can, try to do as much of it outdoors. The greener, the better. And taking the noises and feel of nature around you. Our relationship with nature is like any other. The more time we give, the more we respect and love it. And the more it does for us. Spending time in nature will help you notice the natural cycles and the harmony it has as everything works to survive. Eating what's on offer at different times of the year, eating things that might otherwise be discarded, will help you understand where your food comes from, the value of it, and the effort that is required to retrieve it. It will help you be more at one and in rhythm with the world around you. Keep this rhythm in mind when working with your tools. Remember to keep checking the depth of your base so you don't go through the bottom. Next, refine the shape using the spoon knife. Remember to use the safest method as you can and swap between different knife grips. This will not only make it safer and achieve the best result, but will allow you to use different muscles that you can carve for longer and with less aches and pain. As you go through this process, think of where the materials you are using come from, and think about the food you gather or eat will come from. Appreciate the time it will take you to create this bowl, and how much longer it took for the tree to grow the wood you are carving. Consider the wood to be more than just a material at your disposal. Think of it like you would an organ that has been donated by someone deceased. It should be valued and cherished. It is a gift from the earth to be used wisely. Not only has a tree been growing for decades, absorbing carbon dioxide and releasing oxygen, but it has been a home and a shelter for some of your favourite animals, such as birds and squirrels. Think of all the time you've gone outside and filled your lungs with the fresh air and have felt uplifted by the beautiful song of the birds. When needed, swap between tools to whichever one seems most efficient. After carving out most of the inside of the bowl, use your axe to start to shape the outside of the bowl. The Native American and Inuit people have beliefs that we call animism. This is where they believe everything is living, from objects to elements of the earth and natural phenomena. Through this belief system, they have a great respect for nature and don't take things for granted, something that our society could benefit from. If you have a flat surface with two straight edges, cut off the two edges, making a center point. Then, take that edge off and repeat the process. Using this technique throughout will make the process a lot easier. The Maori people of New Zealand value nature and view themselves as one with the natural world. The people, the land, the sea, the forest, and all living creatures are members of the same family. The Maori word, Keitiakatanga, means guarding and protecting the environment in order to respect their ancestors and secure the future. They respect their ancestors by respecting the land, and therefore respect future generations who will also use this land. handle. Saw a stop cut so that when you are splitting, you don't split through the bowl. Make sure you don't saw your stop cut too close to the bowl so that you can have more choice when it comes to the outside shape of the bowl and are less likely to split it. It's important to keep your fingers well out of the way and to only hit the bottom 2/3 of the wood to reduce the likelihood of you catching your arm or fingers. You can also use your axe as a guillotine for more precise cuts. This makes it less likely for you to make mistakes. The Aboriginal people of Australia have a deep connection with the land. They do not view the land as theirs or anyone's. They are a part of it. This shows in the art that they make. It is filled with symbols about their surrounding land. Campsites, sources of water, animals in the area, and so on. All have their symbols. It is a guide for their people and how they can be a part of the land. Each culture has their own symbols, and they can be seen in their day-to-day items, jewellery, and even tattooed onto their skin. Think about what symbolism you would like to include on your bowl. Maybe something to remind you to connect with nature, or something important to you. Something that would be important to think about while using the bowl. If, at this stage, the inside shape still needs refining, you can go back to it, but be careful, as the base is no longer as stable, so it will be a lot more dangerous. Now, you can start to refine the outer shape of the bowl with your carving knife. Make sure you're using safe techniques to avoid injury. Remember to swap between different techniques. Trees are remarkable. Robin Wall Kimmerer, in Braiding Sweetgrass, talks about how observing nature can teach us many things. She says, in native ways of knowing, human people are often referred to as the younger brothers of creation. We say humans have the least experience with how to live, and thus the most to learn. We must look to our teachers among other species for guidance. One example of what nut trees teach us is this. Nut trees don't make a crop every year, but rather produce at unpredictable intervals. Some years a feast, most years a famine. A boom and bust cycle known as mass fruiting. Unlike juicy fruits and berries, which invite you to eat them right away before they spoil, nuts protect themselves with a hard, almost stony shell and a green leathery husk. The tree does not mean for you to eat them right away with juice dripping down your chin. They are designed to be food for winter, when you need fat and protein, heavy calories to keep you warm. They are safety for hard times, the embryo of survival. So rich is the reward that the contents are protected in a vault, double-locked, a box inside a box. This protects the embryo within and its food supply, but also virtually guarantees the nut will be squirreled away someplace safe. Just as Kimmerer explained, as a shell of a nut is hard, it is taken away to be eaten out of the sight of predators. Nuts are designed to be brought inside to save for later in a chickmonk's cache or the root cellar of a cabin. In the way of all hoards, some will surely be forgotten, and then the tree is born. Like the nutshell, your bowl will be designed to hold food to be eaten indoors, whether that is nuts, herbs, fruit, or mushrooms. The tree is again becoming a vessel, like the shell that protected it before it germinated. For mass fruiting to succeed in generating new forests, each tree has to make lots and lots of nuts. So many that it overwhelms the would-be seed predators. If a tree just plodded along, making a few nuts every year, they'd all get eaten, and there would be no next generation of pecans. But, given the high caloric value of nuts, the trees can't afford this outpouring every year. They have to save up for it, as a family saves up for a special event. The trees spend years saving up starch in their roots, and when they have enough, they make the nuts. Not only does this mass fruiting happen on an individual scale, but if one tree fruits, they all fruit. There are no soloists. Not one tree in a grove, but the whole grove. Not one grove in the forest, but every grove. All across the country. The trees do not act as individuals, but as a collective. Exactly how they do this, we don't know. But what we see is the power of unity. Be patient when working on the end grain. This is the most difficult part. Kimura explains that through the trees working together, they are able to be much more productive. She also tells us that there is evidence suggesting that Native American elders were right in thinking the trees communicate. They do this via pheromones that are wafted in the breeze, laden with meaning. Scientists have identified specific compounds that one tree will release. The tree sends out a distress call. The downwind trees catch the drift, sensing those few molecules of alarm, the whiff of danger. This gives them the time to manufacture defensive chemicals. The trees warn each other, and the invaders are repelled. Some studies show the trees in a forest are often interconnected by subterranean networks of mycorrhizae, fungal strands that inhabit tree roots. These may form fungal bridges between individual trees, so that all the trees in the forest are connected. These fungal networks appear to redistribute the wealth of carbohydrates from tree to tree. We learn from the trees that unity as a people gives us strength. We should warn one another of dangers and share with, support one another. When working on the fine details with your knife, do what the wood wants to. If the fibres get caught, try from the opposite direction. Try working as if you are going downhill. Then the knife will easily follow the grain. On the inside of the bowl, the grain works the other way. The symbol for the handle of this bowl is taken from the Maori people. The twist represents the joining together of two people. In this instance, the joining together of the tree and the wood carver, or the tree and the user of the bowl. In Native American culture, crosses symbolise the Earth's forces, their origin, and the manner in which they work. The star symbolises hope. So coupled with the symbol of the twist, this bowl represents hope for the Earth through the bonding of man and nature. I hope that as you make your bowl, you will do exactly that and bond with nature. Don't worry if your bowl does not look exactly like this one. Make it your own. Just enjoy the process and be content with your result.